Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's Saturday Spotlight. This week, I have the Skillful Coffee Quills with us today. I'm super excited. They are a multi-genre author of the series Leap into Novellas, and I'm so excited for you to meet them. Hi, Coffee. How are you?
Hey, P. It is wonderful to see you again, and thank you so much for this interview as well.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. So for people who might not be super familiar with your work, can you kind of explain what you write? Because it's a unique concept, I feel. I feel like it's a little bit different from the norm, and I'd love to hear more about it.
Okay, thank you. So I'm a genre mishmash, as I like to call it, a hodgepodge, where I just mesh together, and some of it can be easy to see sci-fi and romance, for example, or fantasy and romance, because that's a normal genre mesh that we come to expect from our writings. But I also like things like a project I'm working on, zombies, archery, and post-apocalyptic, with a little bit of love thrown in, because why not? Other genres I have mashed together have been post-apocalyptic, polyamorous adventure. I have ideas for the future, like again, post-apocalyptic, apparently that's a big thing right there. Post-nuclear apocalyptic cozy mystery series. And these are future ideas, of course, but for the moment, I have post-apocalyptic, poly, romance. Coming out later on will be political satire with paranormal mixed with paranormal, which is not something you see very often. Usually it's political satire and that's it. But I decided to mix it with a shark shifter. So if it's fun, let's do it.
I love that. I love it because reading should be fun sometimes, right? Like sometimes, I know I personally read sometimes for a bit of an escape. You know, life can get heavy, life can get really overwhelming, intense, super busy, and sometimes it's nice to sit down and be like, all right, I'm going to read about this, and it is, not only is it going to be someone else's problem, but it is going to be someone else's problem that I cannot obtain. So, like, great, we're going to enjoy the drama and the gossip from far away, and I don't have to worry about shark shapeshifter politicians, I don't think. So, like, life is good.
Exactly.
How did you kind of, fall into these ideas and the series as a whole? Because you release novellas, right? And then you release them on a regular interval, if I understand that correctly.
That's what I'm testing out this year. So last year was more, what is indie publishing? What is Amazon? It's like poke. What are we doing with it? What is draft to digital? All those things that an indie publisher starts to learn. And 2024 came up, and I'm like, I have an idea. I am going to release Leap into Novellas. 12 novellas, one each month, and all of them are going to be completely separate genres. So it's a packaged assortment of different tasting chocolates. This book over here could be your strawberry. This book over here could be your salted caramel. And if I like the book, I'm going to continue in that series, and it'll stand on its own series. For example, January's release was a cozy gay romance. Cozy gay fantasy romance. And I'm like, I really like my main character. She's a miniature dragon, and she's just like, I'm going to bite my human if he doesn't realize this other dude is attracted to him. What is your problem? And so she matchmakes them. She forces them to actually talk to each other, steals their clothing in one case when they're at the lake, all the fun stuff. And I like her. And I'm like, you know what? There might be a second and a third in this small series. just matchmaking in general in this small settlement of Ivy Falls. February is Bad Cupid. It's a Cupid rebellion. It's all those red flags you see in a romance. Because I love romance, don't get me wrong, but I hate the idea that every romance is the I love you forever, I love you for always, beautiful, wonderful relationship, because it isn't. It can't be. And so the main character in Bad Cupid is just like, I'm sick of having to force relationships when really these humans should be broken up and just go their separate ways. And a rebellion occurs against the people who are in charge. And January was romance, gay romance, and February is no romance at all. It's friendship, pure and simple. And the fight to have a romance that is best for the people involved.
I love that spin. I think that it's really rare to see that, and I agree, you know, and I agree to the point where I have a romance in my story, and I am part of the other side of the line where, you know, I mean, I'll own up to it, but, you know, that romance is always forever, you know,
I love that
ever
too.
after.
Exactly.
Right? So, and like I said, that's mine. So, you know, it's not even like shunning other authors, but in real life, it doesn't always work that way. You know, the first person you date is very, very, very rarely the person that you end up with. And even if you end up with them, life is hard. No matter what your life is, no matter what that looks like, there's challenges. Going back to, that's why some people read to escape.
Exactly.
Right? If we all have these perfect happily ever afters, ride that, you know, white stallion into the sunset, we wouldn't need to read about, you know, orcs owning a book or a coffee shop, which is what I read this weekend.
Exactly. But the thing is, all of the escapes are wonderful as an escape. And I got frustrated at something, like, I don't see this as a relationship. I see this as a bunch of red flags. And then I thought about Cupid, who has golden arrows to create that wonderful, passionate romance, but who also has lead arrows to make the people, like, run and flee from each other in hatred and loathing and distaste. And I'm like, we always talk about Cupid shooting with the gold arrows. Why not focus on some lead?
I love it. I'm super into it. I think that's great. How did you fall into the role of being an author? Was it from these experiences that you, like with the Cupid, where you were like, oh, this kind of makes me think of something else, or was it something totally different?
It's a long journey and a mixture of several things. I've always wanted to be a writer. When I was younger, I didn't understand that, is there a difference between writer and author, and I wanted to be a writer. And then growing up, I'm like, oh, a writer is an author. An author is a writer that makes money, and this is their job. Okay, I want to be an author. And I think actually a lot of my writing today, and I'm gonna piss off some people with this, I'm sure, comes from fan fiction. And in fan fiction, I have the luck where I like a character or I like a couple, and they're not the main character. There's no fan fiction about it. There is no fan fiction about it. If you want it, you need to write it. And I really feel that from fan fiction and having to write the characters that I love, that very much molded me into the author I am today, where it's like, is a solar punk novella coming of age and talking about the voting system, is this going to be an absolute banger? No. I'll be completely honest. Is it something I'm interested in writing and therefore reading? Yes. And I'm lucky enough to be in the position where I don't have to focus on the marketing niche, but I can focus on writing, well, that's a funny idea, let's do it. So.
That's awesome. I think, and I understand the context that you bring up about how people feel about fan fiction writing, but I won't indulge those arguments because you should just write what you love. But I think that, writing the story that you want to read is a really common thread among authors. And that's a common thread that doesn't matter whether you're self-published, traditional published, writing on Wattpad, or, what have you. I think that that's just kind of a universal thing that all of us can understand. Because it all comes from the heart, right? And it's all following your passion and, your drive, your calling, to some extent. And I think that there's something really special about that. And people shouldn't poo-poo things like that. That's not nice.
I'm very much a write how you want to write. If it works for you, that is awesome, and congrats. The world needs more writers. The world needs more creative people. The world needs more dreamers. And I'm certainly not going to be like, oh, you write fan fiction? Let me read it.
And more voices need to be heard out in the world, right? Just in general, I think more voices. I just don't think that there's a bad thing about that. I think more people should be able to be heard and recognized. So, well, I think what you're doing is wonderful. And I'm so glad that you joined me today from Japan, which is crazy. So thanks for making that work. I try not to make our hours too absolutely horrible for you. But what do you have, coming up in the future? What's kind of next for you?
Let's see. And this is where the tabs in the brain just start flashing. So as always, I also work with For the Words, which I'm not sure if you've heard about, but it's an RPG for writers. And I do the video game writing for that, the narration, the dialogue, the creature creation. So that is always on my brain. And we have the April event coming up, which is magical classes and dragons and stuff like that. Personally, my own writing-wise, March is going to see a solar punk coming-of-age novel. April sees a World War I steampunk, alternative universe novel there. May is, I love the title, Who Chooses to be a Mermaid in a Desert City? It's a lit RPG, and while it does poke fun at the why did she choose to be a mermaid in a desert? Why is that an okay idea for your brain? It's more along the lines of how I play video games. Oh, this is fun. Let's go off main quest that way. Okay, we're gonna go right over here.
I totally get that. I play D&D frequently with a group, and I have a very dear friend who they make unique choices very frequently, and we just accept them as they are. And we know that when we go into something, that when it's their turn and we say, okay, what would you like to do? That's a very open question. And
exactly.
It is widely open for interpretation.
Exactly. So I have those coming out for Leap into Novellas, the series I'm focused on this year. In April, I have the sequel to Spell, Snow, and Sky coming out, Petals, Peace, and Pins. And I'm really excited, too. I have Ghosts of the Apocalypse, #1 Afterlife, coming out as well, which is, again, a genre mixture I don't see very often, but post-apocalyptic paranormal, where the main character can actually interact with ghosts and sees them as a different type of human, where most of the other people in the world can either just see or just hear and can't really interact by touching or, hugging. So, yeah.
That's so cool. I love a good ghost story. They're my favorite. Are ghosts a trope? There's a vocab word in there, but they're I don't know. I love ghosts. They're my jam. Where can people go to find out more information about you, your work, what you're doing, things like that?
I am on the internet. I am on the internet. Coffee Quills on Facebook. I am on Discord. I have a Twitch channel where I do 6 days a week Twitch streaming. We're writing. It's all writing. And people are welcome to come in, lurk, join, focus on what they need to focus on. As I mentioned, I'm with For the Word, so you can find me in the forums there, in the Discord there. I wish I could say my website is finished, and please find me at a website. But that is something I apparently do not find joy in finishing. So, if you'd like, I can give you a link tree. After I have a card, not a link tree, a card, and I can give you that link later for people to click on and find however they'd like to say hello and chat.
Perfect. I love that. We can put it in the description of this video, and then people can look you up, because they should. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for us today, but thank you so much for your time. Again, thank you so much for joining all the way from Japan. I know we have a crazy, it's such a large time difference. I don't even remember what the time difference is at this point, but thank you.
I think it's like a 14-hour time. It is 8:30 in the morning for me right now.
And it is 5:30 for me. And we're in different days, so that's fun.
That's right.
I'm the first interview I've done where we're spanning across a date.
I forgot what date it was. Like, I know the date. The date is very simple to remember. I leveled up today. I'm turning 40, so the date's fine. I'm like, date? Look at my calendar. Tuesday. It is a Tuesday.
Well, you're an absolute gem. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. To all the people tuning in this week or going off into the future, thank you so much. All right.
So.
Bye.
Bye.